Hi and welcome to the FreeFormKnits Youtube channel. I'm Haxann Evers, a knit and crochet who's freeform ways of crafting and built design. All the places you can find me will be listed down below this video. If you're new to my channel, please take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me today. In this video, we're going to be talking about two of my favorite things. We're going to be talking about knitting and books. I love books, I love knitting, obviously, so we're going to be talking about some stitch dictionaries. The stitch dictionaries I'm going to be talking about today are these three right here. These are my three most used stitch dictionaries. They're, in my opinion, the three best, I guess. I think they are actually the first three I added to my collection. I have quite a few knitting books as a knitwear designer, and just as a knitter in general, you should have plenty of knitting books in your library. But I think these three are the first three, like that my starter books, really, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I just want to talk about them a little bit, and maybe you have them, or maybe you're looking for knitting books, so these would be a great place to start. First knitting book I ever purchased was this one. This is Donna Cooler's Encyclopedia of Knitting. I love this book. First of all, I love the photography on the front. I just love that. We all know how I feel about garter stitch by now. So this Encyclopedia of Knitting is really interesting. It's got 150 stitch patterns. So it's got all these pretty stitch patterns. It's got nice clear pictures of these stitch patterns. And it's got written instructions and charts, which is really nice if you prefer one or the other, or just like to have both options available to you. I really like having written instructions and charts because while I follow the written instructions usually, I do like the charts just to like reassure myself that that's how it's supposed to be. I don't know, I like to see the visual and then I can do line by line the instructions. So I really love this book. It's got, like I said, quite a few stitch patterns. It has 150 total, and then it also has projects in it, which again makes it a really good first knitting book. So it's got, I love this one. It's got a bunch of variety of projects. It's got these little felted sheep you could knit. It's got blankets and cardigans in here. 22 patterns total. It's got little booties, little felted booties. I haven't done any felted projects. I should do that one day. I don't know. Probably the sheep, because the sheep are really cute. And what I also really like about this book, combining my, I had a bookmark in there, I didn't realize. It's got like the history of knitting, like it's an encyclopedia of knitting, so there's some history about knitting and the first knitting in history and like the first knitting that we've found. Really interesting, and so I really love this book. It covers pretty much everything. Like if you're totally new to knitting and you just need a book to have as a resource and just a little bit of everything to kind of introduce you to the world of crafting, I would recommend this one. This is Donna Cooler's Encyclopedia of Knitting, and mine's a little bit beat up if you can see the creases in it. And I have sticky notes. Oh, only one sticky note. In all of my books, I always have sticky notes because I'm a knitwear designer, so I'm always leafing through my stitch dictionaries. Next stitch dictionary I want to talk about is this one. This is Knitting Stitches Visual Encyclopedia, 350 stitch patterns, edgings, and more. This is another one that has both written and charted instructions throughout the book, so you can, you know, use whichever one you prefer, if you prefer charts or written instructions. It's got a very large variety of different types of stitch pattern. It's got the cables, slip stitches, knit purl textures, lots of color work charts to try out. I leaf through the color work charts and just like want to like make them all up. Like I want to do cowls in all of these just to try out the charts. I think they're so pretty. And this one, like I said in the title, it has lots of edgings, which I love. Let me find. Like, look at these pretty edgings. Like some of them you have to knit and then sew onto your projects, but others you can just knit them right on, or you could probably modify the ones you have to knit and knit them right onto your whatever you want to edge. And I think those are so pretty. Actually, I love this one. This is actually in a shawl I've made in the past, so a lot of great options in this book. I would say if you're looking for a stitch dictionary that's like, this is just a stitch dictionary, rather than like a resource book like this one. This one's really great. It's, I think, a little bit on the smaller side than some of the more common stitch dictionaries, but it's got a good variety, good solid, like it covers all the bases. It's got a little bit of everything in here, and some of them are really unique that I haven't seen in other stitch dictionaries. I love this one. I have to do this in something. It's like this yarn over, not yarn over, what's that called? Wrapped stitches, slip stitches and stuff. I really love that. So I don't think I said this book is by Sharon Turner, and I think you can get this, you could probably find all these books on Amazon or maybe in your local craft store, but I think I got this one off of Knitpicks, so really love this one. And the last most common used stitch dictionary that I use in my day-to-day knitwear designer life is 750 Knitting Stitches, the Ultimate Knit Stitch Bible. I love this book. It's a big book. It's a lot bigger than this one. This one you could easily slip into a bag. This one's got a little bit more heft to it, and it's got my various tabby things in here. So this book is by, what's the author? I guess it's just a collection. It just says St. Martin's Griffin. I don't know, or Martin's Griffin. I don't know if that's like the company that printed it or if it's like a collaboration type thing. I don't know. I know nothing. I really love this book. This one has a lot more stitches than the first one, and it's got just so many, like I could just go on. I feel like no matter how many knitting stitch dictionaries you have, you could always use more because there's not going to be a lot of overlap between them. I mean, maybe some more than others, but there's, I would say in like every stitch dictionary, there's at least one, more often more, unique stitches in that particular stitch dictionary. And this one, I mean, this is 700 different stitches. Look at all these cables. I've been really wanting to do some more cable work, and they're just so pretty. This one only has charts for some of them, some of the stitch patterns. Well, some of them are just written instructions. I find that while there's only some of them with charts, I think like the harder ones definitely come with charts, so that's really nice. But just so many pretty ones in here. I personally love looking at all the textures. Look at this one. I gotta use that in something. It's like alternating moss stitch triangles. Oh, it's so pretty. I love the photography in these books. Some of the stitch dictionaries I have, I try to get, they use a lot of different yarns for the swatches, which is really nice, but sometimes you just need really plain yarn to show off a stitch pattern. I feel like that's best, and that you as the knitter trying out the stitch pattern can decide if you want to try a different texture. And this stitch dictionary, I would say they use really good like clean yarn, I guess. Like it's not nothing fuzzy, nothing that pops out to you as really textured. I would say almost there's like a merino shine to it. I think I showed you this page, but like if you can kind of see what I mean, like the pictures are really crisp and clear, and you can really see the yarn that they use. I don't know, they don't say what yarn they use for their swatches, but I would say that everything in here has this very merino sheen to it, you know what I'm talking about, or do I just sound crazy? I love all of these, and they really fit a lot onto the page. That's why like they have so many different variations of stitch patterns. Like they do everything. They have like the 3x1 rib in here, and they'll also have the 2x1 rib right next to it, so you can really compare and contrast what stitch pattern you want to do. I don't know, I just really love this book. I really love this book. So these are the 3 stitch dictionaries I use the most. These 2 more often than this one. I just really wanted to share this one because this was like my first knitting book I ever purchased. The first one I ever purchased. Not the first knitting book I ever received, but the first knitting book I ever purchased. So it's got a special place in my heart, and it was my only knitting book for a long time. You know, it's got special companionship here. But I do highly recommend it if you are looking for a knitterly resource book. It's a good starter. It's got everything. It's got techniques in here. and it's got various stitch patterns to keep you entertained. And then these two, just really, I think my philosophy with knitting stitch dictionaries, and you can tell me if this is flawed, just get them all. Get them all. They're all so pretty. I mean, I haven't obviously seen every knitting stitch dictionary out there, but I'm pretty sure, I feel pretty confident in that. They're all very pretty, and they all deserve a spot in my knitterly shelf bag of tricks, whatever you want to call it. I love stitch dictionaries. I love books. I love especially pretty books. Knitting stitch dictionaries. That's everything for this video. I hope that made some sense. If you have a specific knitting book that you really love and you would recommend, like if you could recommend one knitting book that you think every knitter should have, leave it in the comments below. Tell me. I would love to hear it. I probably need it. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe before you leave, and happy crafting!